Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid. In this video, we're going to check out the new Launch X431 Pro 3S Plus. It's a new professional level scan tool tablet that was sent to me. We're going to check it out in this video. I'm going to try to do as detailed a review as I can on it. So I'm going to show you like all throughout the menus, and we're going to try to apply it on two different cars and see if we can see what it looks like to kind of diagnose things and check out data and all that stuff. So we're going to get super detailed, but I'll put chapter markers in this if you want to kind of skip around all the different things. Anyway, let's get started. Like I said, this is a professional level tool. It comes with a whole bunch of different adapters for all various kinds of cars. So far, I've only ever needed just the Bluetooth dongle straight into the OBD2 port. But if you have, this is for like an older BMW right here, and I actually have no idea what all of these other adapters are for. I think they're mostly for older cars, but if that's what you have, this will cover it. I think mostly they give you this giant box just to kind of make it look impressive, but it has it. The only thing that's really important though are the tool and the USB dongle or the Bluetooth dongle for the OBD2 port. All right, now when you buy a tablet like this, it usually comes with about a year or two of free updates. I believe now it's a year of updates. So I'll be able to update all the software and get, the newer cars supported. So again, this is the most important if you are like a professional tech and you're seeing all the brand new cars and you need to be able to diagnose those. So the updates are important to you for that reason. But if you're just working on older cars, it's not as important. So it has the intelligent diagnose, which tries to figure out what car it's connected to. For some reason, that doesn't work on BMWs, so I'm going to skip that. I know that doesn't work. Local diagnose is where you go in to connect directly to the modules on the car. So the service function section, that's where you're going to find a lot of the common things that you might have to do, like ABS bleeding. If you do an ABS reset, go in there. There's a module just for doing that. You can get to all of these functions if you go into the local diagnose section and then you go into the car and you go to the right module and then you go to, there's like a service functions menu inside of each individual module. But sometimes it can be hard to find that. So this is just sort of like it's a shortcut. These are all your bookmarks just to those exact procedures. So it'll get you right where you need to go. So that's kind of cool. So basically, let me show you kind of all the functions that it has. You guys can just read and check out what it has. And it has all of these. This is not the only thing it's capable of doing. This is just what they chose. These are all the common things that are common amongst all the modules, right? But there are a bunch more service functions that this tool supports. It's just that you will find those within the individual menus in the modules. So yeah, you see this TPMS section, but you actually need an accessory to do this, which is this TS gun. But this can do TPMS sensors, which is kind of cool. So the ADAS thing is the adaptive driving systems that are on some newer cars. So it looks like you can calibrate those, and that's pretty cool. Got some general knowledge here. So newer technicians they've got to get into that stuff. So this thing covers it, which is really cool. So other modules, I think I haven't been in here. There's a lot of stuff you can do. I mean, this thing will support everything. Looks like there's a video. So they probably have an accessory for sticking a little video camera down in a bore to kind of see what's going on inside a cylinder. And then BST360, is this like a battery tester? Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So they must have a battery tester device, a Bluetooth thing that you would buy, just another accessory. I don't want to go into it though. So yeah, pretty cool. This thing covers a lot of stuff. Vehicle coverage, I guess that'll give you a little list. They actually, oh, okay. I guess it's sort of like a glossary of all the different things. That's pretty cool. So yeah, all the different cars and then all the different diagnostic modules. Maintenance. Never been into maintenance yet. Repair case, operating skills. Oh, this must be a knowledge database. That's pretty cool, actually. Pretty interesting. It's not fully covered. Yeah, it's not everything, but that's neat. Okay, let's get into the real stuff. Local diagnose. So on professional level scan tools, there is the module specific to the car, and then there's a generic EOBD, OBD2. So this is probably what you might be familiar with if you're a home gamer, where you've only ever had the cheaper scan tools. You plug them in and you get like a P0420 code or something like that. So that's where you're going to get those kinds of codes. But that's not going to tell you everything. There's often other problems that are wrong with the car that you're not going to see in there, because OBD2 it's geared towards emissions problems. But there could be more problems wrong with the car. There's a bunch of other modules on most cars these days. So let me show you the American cars that it covers, all of these. Here's the Euro cars. It's page 2 there. Page 3. Asian cars. Page 2. And a couple more. And then they cover a bunch of Chinese cars. Who knew there were so many cars in China? And then that's what's common between all of them. Cool, so let's go European, because we're in a BMW. So I got that Bluetooth dongle plugged in. You always have to have your ignition on to position 2 when you're doing scan tool stuff. So I used to have an older launch. Well, I still have it. It's like a handheld one. It's older and it was so slow. I really hate it because it's so slow. To do like this automatically search thing and to do a health check on that one would just take minutes and minutes and minutes. It's still going to be slow on this tool just because these older BMWs are slow. I found that they're slow on every scan tool that I've used, but that one was particularly slow. You see that it did read the VIN right here, but when I do that intelligent diagnose, for some reason it can't identify the VIN. So there's kind of something wrong with that intelligent diagnose. Maybe it's only supported on newer cars or something. So this is the part right here where it identifies all the different modules. This takes a this is what's a little slower on older BMWs. On my E90, it's a lot faster. It's just, you know, the speed of the bus that they're using. This is a 20-year-old car after all. So that took about a minute. And in here we can do a health report, which is going to scan all the DTC codes on all the modules and just tell me, it'll zero in on all the problems. Or we can just scan a particular system if you kind of know. You can do system selection, or you can do the system scan and, you know, find the module and go into a specific module. So health report, let's just try that. This is what would take minutes on my old launch. It's actually a lot faster on this one. Okay, that did take about 2 or 3 minutes. So it looks like we have a steering angle sensor code, data filing difference to central light module. I don't know what that means. Got to look that one up. I do have some relay error codes on my my general module. I have had problems with the door locks not opening sometimes, which is actually kind of scary, because if those things are locked and they're locked out, the handle on the door will not open the door at all. And, you know, if you need to get out of the car in a hurry, that could be really bad. So I gotta address that. My optical sensor for the rain, the windshield wipers, when it senses the rain, I've never been able to initialize that. I think I got to replace it. And then I still have short circuit to earth problems on my rear taillight. Since we replaced the wire or fixed the wiring in there, I think it's probably related to the actual aftermarket light that I have. Anyway, you can, you know, go straight into a module here from this code, from this readout. So now I'm actually in a module. I want to show you like how you would get there though if you weren't in this. So you would do system selection. And then on this car, on BMW, it's got 3 different categories. So drive would be like the ECM and the transmission computer, the mobilizer. So say we went into the ECM, tells you, you know, information about the ECM, and then you go in there. So you can read fault codes, you can clear fault codes. Here we have none. You can read data stream. This is where you're going to read all the different PIDs from the engine module, the engine computer. So you can select what you want. Now, let's say you wanted to analyze fuel trims with this. You actually wouldn't do it in this section, because if you're reading the fuel trim data, the oxygen sensor data from here, let's see, where is it? In the BMW computer, it has adaptation, mixture, additive, and multiplicative. So these do not correlate directly to fuel trim percentages that you would normally get from the OBD2 data. So these really aren't going to be helpful as far as diagnosing fuel trims, because it's very difficult to read them. So you actually wouldn't do that in here. On other cars, you could do it here. Normally they would give you the same data that you would get on the OBD2 side, but in this particular computer, or with this particular car, you just can't get it that way. But you can get a lot of other data this way. So we can see here's Vanos data. That's actually really helpful. That's something you cannot get on OBD2 data. So why don't we go ahead and start the car and see what this looks like. Car's completely cold, so I'll just kind of let it warm up a little bit. But you can actually see we are, the actual position is retarded, and here's the reference position. So you can see it's, you can just read this information and see what's going on. Probably, so this is not going to start reading any helpful data until we get the car completely warmed up, but again, this is where you would do it. I'll leave the car on though. Solenoid valve, we are misfiring a little bit. I haven't turned this car on in a little while. Car's been sitting for like over a month. So, oxygen sensor heater, you can tell if your heaters are working. You can also get this on OBD2 data as well. Why is it giving you percentages? That's interesting. Maybe that's how much it's heating. Can you change that value? No. Normally it would give you milliamps. So, smooth running values, this will tell you if you're having misfires, which cylinder. Guess that would be cylinder 1, no? Yeah. They're all a little bit all over the place. Okay. So, various different values. See what we see in here. So people say that people think the multiplicative is analogous to the long-term fuel trims, but that doesn't really help you, because you need to know your total fuel trims most of the time. But at least you get your O2 voltages in here. You can also see amperage or millivolt, voltage or millivolts, which is the same thing. It's just moving the scale. Cool. So that's how you would kind of look at data. Now, activation test. Did it say activation or actuation? I don't remember. Solenoid valves. So you can activate the DISA. So you would do this with the car off, actually. And then tank ventilation. So yeah, that would be the purge solenoid that's in the engine, in the engine bay. So you can activate that, turn it on, and see if you can hear it activating. And the secondary air, this would be the air pump that's over on the side. If you suspect that's dead, you can activate it. And then the same for the DISA valve, you can activate it here if it's running. You can actually turn off fuel injectors while the engine's running and see if see if the car responds. So what you would do is you would turn off if you suspect that one of your injectors is dead, you can command it to be off, and if the engine starts shaking even more, then you know it's good. And if it doesn't start, if it doesn't shake anymore, then you know it's bad. So that's one way to sort of do an injector drop test without actually disengaging the injectors. And you need to be able to you need this because on this car, you cannot unplug an individual injector. They're all sort of plugged together in a harness. So yeah, that's really helpful. You can turn off or turn on the air conditioning compressor, the fuel pump relay, all that sort of stuff. So this one right here, motor of diagnostic module tank leak. We just did a video about this. It's the same system on this car. This is where you would command on the DMTL pump on this car. It looks like there's two different ones. And the reason there's, so here's the valve. This would be this is actually cool. You can command the two different ones. I wonder if this was on the E90 and I just never went into this menu, but this particular PID will let us command the vent valve open and closed. And this one will let us command the DMTL pump on or off. That's pretty cool. And let's see, what else do we have? Idle actuator. So that's the idle air control valve. So you can get that to activate, and the electric fan. So yeah, pretty cool, all the stuff that you can do from here. That PID about delete fault memory, that's the same thing as clear fault code. Sometimes you see multiple things all over the place. Special function. Clear adaptation, that would be the fuel trim adaptations. You can clear those when you do some repair on the fuel system and maybe you fixed a vacuum leak or something. Clear the adaptations. You can also clear them by just unplugging the mass airflow sensor while the car's running and plug it back in. This one, actually, we don't want to do this one. This is where if you replace your EWS and you need to synchronize them. CO adjustment, I'm not sure what that is. Idle speed, yes, you can actually adjust the idle speed, but I suggest you never go in there and do that. Here you can activate the DMTL pump. I think that's activating the whole routine. Readiness code. So that'll give you, if the car's ready for emissions without having to exit this module and go into the OBD2 module. Where were we? Oh, that was description. So that'll tell you what's ready and what's not. Cool. So did we look at everything? Yeah, DMTL pump, consumption indicator adjustment. Again, you don't want to adjust any of these things, but it has it. So that kind of gives you an idea of that. Again, every module has its own special things, like special functions, clear adaptations on the transmission. You can test the different solenoids on the transmission, all that stuff. Reversing light, pressure actuators. Yeah, really cool stuff. Here we have the ABS system. This is where you would go in, and if you wanted to, and we can get to this from the front of the tool, but if you wanted to, if you change your brake fluid and you want to bleed the system, you would do that through the special function in this module. Special function, probably, actually, I think it would be actuation test. This is DSC, this one, and then separator, return pump. It might be in that other menu. Probably ventilation. Yeah. Changing brake fluid. Was that job carried out? Yes, and then it'll start to activate the thing. Oops, wait. We still want to be in there. I was in system selection. So now in body, these are all the body modules that it detected. Instrument cluster. We had an error in here. Let's go check it out. So read fault code. Data filing difference to central light module. I'm wondering if I ever replaced my central. Oh, you know what it is? I think I replaced this. Did I replace this cluster? No, I never replaced the cluster. So I don't know what it is, but actuation test, general functions, speed reading, revolution counter, fuel gauge, fuel consumption. Doesn't look like anything related to that. Special function, reset service interval. Nothing really. So all we can do is clear the code, but it'll come back because I've done this before. So yeah, lots of different things. This ZKE would be the general module 5. I do have errors in here, which I'm not happy about. I think I just need to replace this thing because those relays, they actually go bad on this module over time. It might be a good idea to do a video, like I'll get a used one, make sure it works, and then on this other one, my old one, I'll try to do a video on replacing those relays. I think it is a little tricky, but you got to desolder them and put some new ones on. that might be the best way to go, because that way we know we've got new relays. So cool. As you see, lots of different things. Let's just check out what you can do in the airbag module. So no fault codes there, no special functions, just actuation tests, just delete fault memory. So there's really nothing you can do on the airbag system. Center console, switching system. What do we got? Temp sensor, heating. Yeah, so this is for my seat heater on my seat. A long time ago, I did a video where I replaced the seat cover and I didn't use one that was from a car with heated seats. So I cut the cable and it can detect that. Kind of actuation test, just delete fault memory. Okay, so you get an idea of all the different things you can do. And then yes, you can actually do some coding. You can get in trouble when you're doing this. So I'm actually not going to do any of that. And then anti-theft system. Okay. That's if you have a separate tool, a programmer. So cool, we'll get out of that. I want to go into the EOBD system and let's check out what the field trims look like. And I want to try and graph them for you so we can see what that looks like. Because you guys, I mean, if you're an old school viewer of the channel, you've seen me use other software on my laptop to graph the field trims on this car and analyze them together. Obviously an important thing that you want to do with a scan tool on this particular car. Let's see how that works. Okay, we're going to turn the car on. And we want to read live data. So here we are going to go for, there's different PIDs. We're going to do long term and short term. And it's always had these other PIDs right here, and I think these are the wrong ones. So we want to also do, where are we? Where's the engine RPM? Cool. So can you graph all these things? Here's what it would look like graphing all of these things at the same time. I wonder what it would look like with just 4 PIDs on the screen. We'll check that out later. But so this is the short-term field trim right here, and this is the long-term field trim. So let's just get the car running at speed here. You can see we're good. You know, -5. Here's bank 1 and 1. So we're under 5% here. We're about 2% here. This is about, you know, 2 or 3, sometimes 1. Now we're back to idle. You can see we're around the 3 or 4 area. Here we're about 6 now. Now we're about 6. So we're a little bit leaner at idle than when we're running. Oops. You can zoom in on one of these. That's actually cool. So you can look at something up close. Cool. Well, you know, I mean, I don't see any huge problems here. So things are all good. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Let's see if we take off the engine RPMs and then go back to graph. Yeah, so the graphs are a little bit bigger. Pretty cool. You can obviously record this and play it back later or analyze the data later. Very neat. What does report do? Oh, if you're going to make a report and save the info. That's fancy. Don't need this though. Skip. Oh, you can make a fancy report for yourself and save it. Don't need it. Cool. Now instead of field trim, let's look at O2 sensor data. Maybe these two. So here is if you want to graph your sensors and see if your catalytic converters are doing their jobs. So here we go, bank 1 and bank 2. These are sensor 1 and sensor 2. So bank 1 on the top, bank 2 on the bottom. What you want to see is this. Your sensor 1's that's before the catalytic converters. You want to see those cycling up and down. And your sensor 2s after the converter, you want to see those between 0.6 and 0.8 volts. 0.7, pretty good. And you want those to stay there, especially when you're running the car at speed. This is when they should be working harder because there's more exhaust going through the catalytic converters. So if they stay solid like that, your cats are good. If they are going up and down like the before cat sensors are, then your cats are bad. And sometimes you'll see a recovery like that, that's fine. But as long as they're pretty steady for the most part, you're good. If you get a P420 or a 430 code, I think on this car it's mostly, actually no, there would be both of them. If you get a P420 or a 430 code, most of the time your cat is just done. Yeah. So cool, just your kind of typical scan. For me, this is typical because I've been working with Launch for quite a while, but you know, it covers quite a few things, and everything that I've used it for, I've never run into problems with anything. All of the modules, all of the service functions, all that stuff does work. So I've never run into any problems. All right, let's check this out on another car now. Okay guys, now we are in the E90, another BMW. Imagine that on this channel. So this car being newer, faster bus, faster everything. We're already in here. Boom. Speeding through that. Okay, let's do a health report. Wow, way faster. It's just the speed of that bus, man. Cool. Wow. Fuel pump plausibility is a current code. Interesting. I'm going to have to take a look at that. I wonder what they mean by plausibility. Short circuit fault, side marker light, right and left faulty. I think I mentioned this in the previous video. Yes, I have a fault there. I got to chase it down. Okay, and that's about it. So fuel pump plausibility. Just curious. I mean, I don't think there's any more information about that, but what if there are some PIDs about that? Motor operating values. What do we got about fuel pump? Mass airflow, throttle angle. Fuel pump plausibility. It might be something related to the high pressure fuel system. That's kind of what I'm worried about. Here we go. Fuel delivery low pressure. What do we have? HPA. And this kind of doesn't mean anything to me because I have no information in my head about what it should be or what it shouldn't be. So I'd have to do some research in order for that to make sense. I'd have to look at you know, some of the information that I would have access to. So again, same thing for this. I don't know off the top of my head what it should be. What's normal, what's not. Haven't even gotten into the fuel system. I do know that the high pressure side is supposed to be way higher than the low pressure side. But yeah, I'll have to do some research and figure out. Those looked fine to me though. I mean, what do I know? Until I do more research. Engine idling only with engine running. Just take a look at what we can see. I think that's kilopascals, if I'm not mistaken. I just wouldn't know what that is in PSI. Let's go back to the fuel pump. Not the fuel pump, but yeah, fuel pump. It's kind of annoying. Oh, English, there it is. Dude, I'm stupid. Finally. Okay, 47 PSI, that seems normal for a BMW. And then fuel pump, high pressure, boom. PSI, 500 PSI. Anybody know what the high pressure fuel pump is supposed to be? I don't know what it's supposed to be. Let's see if we have it on here. Isn't it nice that you have a web browser? You can just do that. So high pressure fuel pump, E90, EPSI. You know, I typically don't like going on the boards. This guy is saying 700 to 2500-ish, depending on the load. Again, I really don't. This guy's saying it feeds it at 72. The low pressure fuel pump feeds it at 72. That's on a 1 series, but same engine. I don't like going off of what I read on, this is the same thing, just on a different. So I really don't like going off of what I read on message boards because people are often wrong, and I'd rather read like the official documentation from BMW, which I need to log into something in order to see. So I'll research that later, not part of this video. Anyway, you can see that, I wonder what we get here. So I know what my history codes are. So I do have these 2 marker light fault codes. So what I need to do for that one is get into the wiring diagrams and just kind of see where those wires run to and figure out where I want to go to start my diagnosis on that. Line short circuit of FRM reset. So that's really good. Those short circuit codes in this module cannot be reset just by clearing the fault codes, because for some reason they just don't get reset. And in order to clear them, you actually have to go through this weird procedure with toolset 32 in the BMW tools on a laptop, and it's really a pain in the ass. You have to find the forum post that tells you how to do it, which is sometimes hard to find. Looks like there's a special function for doing it in this tool, which is really great. So I might need to use that once I fix those 2 fault codes. Cool, so not much else wrong on this car. On this car, you're not really going to be diagnosing fuel trims a lot because that's just not really a common problem that you're going to be getting into. So we really don't need to do that. It's really more about the special functions that you might need to do. So let's say we want to code the fuel injectors, injection quantity compensation. This is where we would recode the fuel injectors. Tells you to reset the fault codes before you do this. No. Those are the current corrections from the current injectors. It's cool. I don't actually want to do this at all. We're good. But here are the rest of the things you can do. There's mechatronic calibration. Again, if you have to do the maintenance on the transmission, you would need to reset the adaptations in there. Cooling system ventilation. This is where you could trigger the cooling system to do the bleed procedure, but you don't need a scan tool to do that. Idling quality. This is actually good. Rough running values. This might tell you where, if you have like a bad injector, this might tell you where the problems are. So obviously, plus or minus 200 is where you'll be running into issues. You can see that maybe my cylinder 5 has the most problems right now. Maybe that's telling me that injector is dirtier than all the others. Again, these are used injectors that I got in a junkyard. I didn't send them off to get cleaned first. For the most part, I haven't had any issues. Maybe every once in a while I'll feel a slight hiccup, just while I'm sitting somewhere idling. It's nothing that really bothers me. It's so sporadic. It's nothing like what it was on the older injectors that I had. But you see now cylinder 5's fine. So who knows what that really is telling you. It could just be normal. Yeah, so that is where you would see those problems. You would be able to zero in on which fuel injector is dirty. So display and reset adaptation values. Immobilizer stuff. I never want to mess with that. Idling quality, fuel system. Yeah. Maintenance, that's where you can reset all the maintenance reminders, which you can do through the normal menu, but maybe it's a little bit easier to do it in here. Driver assistance. Wonder what that means. Chassis, you can bleed the brakes right there. DSC unit adjustment, that's, who knows what that is actually. Steering angle sensor, sometimes you actually have to recalibrate it if you replace it or something. Body, look at that. You can actually power down the computer. If you want to do a voltage draw test, you can trigger the whole car to go into sleep mode rather than waiting 15 minutes or 2 hours or however long it normally takes. Power window regulator initialize, we've done that in a previous video. Initialize your rain sensor. Various different things. Yeah. So I did say that I wanted to go into that fuel pump module, just see what's in there. So I know we don't have any fault codes, right? Data stream. It's coding data, we don't need that. What do we see here? It tells you the speed of the fuel pump. Measured values. Oh, you can activate the fuel pump at 2 different rates. Pretty cool. Okay, nothing that's helpful for me right now. So, there we go. That's this system on an E90. Kind of just depends on what you need to do. So yeah, pretty neat. Do not forget the Bluetooth dongle. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the Launch Pro 3S Plus tablet. It's really great, really cool tool. As far as aftermarket scan tools go for BMWs or European cars at least, there's really only two that you want to be looking at, either the Autel or the Launch software. They make a bunch of different tablets and interfaces, but you're really buying the software. And between those two, I cannot tell you which one is better. They basically do roughly the same thing, but I don't know if one is better than the other, or one is faster, or one is this, or one is that. I really don't know because I haven't had access to the Autel. I've only had access to a Launch. But for everything I've needed to do, it's come through and it's worked. Everything's always worked on the Launch, so I'm a big fan of it. I can recommend it. If you're interested, there's going to be links down in the description. There might even be a discount code if you're watching this video at the right time. And yeah, if you're interested, check that out. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.